Hello, Tom, Campervan Furniture here, just doing another very quick video to show you how to install our U-shaped furniture. So if you're at this point right now, you've either bought our furniture and it had it pre-assembled and this is how it's been delivered on the pallet for you, or you purchased the flat pack version and installed it as per our previous video and are now at this stage with your 4 built units. The couple of spares that you will notice either received or got left from your build kit now will be these. So this first bit of wood is your leg, which we'll install here later, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. You'll have a little bit of hardware, so you'll have a couple of these Craig screws. These are the longest screws that you've got, but the most distinctive part about them is that they've got a square head on the top, and we'll explain them in a minute. Then we've got these 25mm Phillips screws. And we've got a selection then of 16mm screws again. A hinge and 2 what I call wings. So at this current moment in time, we'll pretend that we're inside the vehicle. This unit is at the rear with the cupboard door facing outside of the van, and this is our rear section. So what we want to do first of all is bring in then our longer unit, which makes up the bed. So we'll then bring him into play and butt him up to the rear unit. There. And what's going to be the telltale is you're going to want the fitment around the sliding door to either come to the pillar here, or if it's a transporter, it'll have the step cut out, and you want to bring that as far back as possible into the step. You then either bring the rear unit further into the van or out of the van just to get it to sit flush along here. And if we look to the other side, we've got the bench, and under this side is exactly the same to this side, where we've got this additional support, which is what you're going to sit the unit itself on. And you've got these 2 corner brackets. We'll come on to them in a minute. So make a note of where they are, and it's them that we're going to be working with at the moment. So you've got 2 corner brackets here, 2 corner brackets this side. So we'll pop this unit now in place. And what we want to do first is make sure that the rear unit is square to the van. So that means a measurement from the threshold either side, or the metal seal just underneath, the metal bit underneath your seal if you've got that exposed, just a permanent placement at the rear of the van to ensure that both sides are the same and that the unit is sitting square. From there then we install our little bench unit, and what we want to do as the first aim is make sure that the benches are sitting pretty straight here. And the other thing that we want to check is make sure that our bed lid flips over and meets the other side. So if we just shifty him over here, we want to make sure that we have a little gap down the centre here, but not a massive gap, because the lid itself needs to sit on this support on the face of the opposite side. And for this reason, we do not install a leg initially, because that will now be flapping up and down as you're testing each time. So once we're happy at this position that the units are sitting up to the sliding door step, that the rear unit is square in our vehicle, and that we haven't got a massive gap, but we've got a breather gap down the edge of the bed, we can then secure via the 16mm screws, so the smallest of the screws, up into those corner blocks, into the lids of either side. Now this isn't anything structural to the fitment of the vehicle, but it holds these in place so that when you are screwing the other screws in place, that the benches are going to stay in the correct position with the same spacing. Next up then we look at the distance between this bench and this bench, and we then want to mirror that distance at the floor level. So we want to make sure that these cupboard doors aren't in too much or out too much on the floor level. Once you're happy that they are sitting square either side and the same distance as the top distance, inside the cupboard you have got, I'll lift this lid up for you to see, pre-drilled pocket holes. So these are referred to as pocket holes, where they are already drilled, so pre-drilled slot into your wood, and it's them that we use the Craig bits for. So this is the specific one with the square head. So we're using that to secure this particular bench into the face of the rear bench, and the same for the passenger side unit. So they will now go through here with the supplied bit into that hole over there, like so, and then go through and bite into the faceplate of the opposite side. It is then also this screw that we will use to secure this whole setup to the floor of your van. So you'll see around your furniture, you've got dotted around these pre-drilled pocket hole sockets. And you just pop your Craig bit in there and screw him down into the floor. But the key is to make sure that as you're going along, that at every stage, you flip over your lid just to make sure that it's still sitting true. Because you may, for some reason, have knocked this bench, for say, out like that. And the last thing you want to do is screw all them screws into place, and then realise that you need to undo it and bring it in. Or worse, that it was too far in and you need to take it out and you'll expose all them holes that you've drilled into your floor. So at all stages, the main goal is to make sure that you can still flip over the lid of the bed and it meets up with the bar on this side. Once you're now at that stage where both units are now screwed into the floor, they're screwed into the rear unit, you can then fit the leg, because we won't be flipping that over anymore. So final check then, just to make sure that the lid is sitting in line with the bench, but not too much of a gap. So if you look there, that's around about a centimetre gap, which you don't want. We only want sort of a 2mm gap on the side. So we know we need to pull them in, but I haven't screwed anything, so we'll brush past that one. On the leg side of things, it fits in this slot by here. And what we then do is place the leg all the way up to the far right-hand side of the lid. So this is towards your sliding door. And we pop the hinge on with the barrel in the centre of the two bits of wood where they join. And again, you want to make sure that this is square using an engineer square, and then use 4 screws on the lid itself, 4 screws go onto the leg itself. And the beauty of this particular hinge is it's got a stop at 90 degrees. So that means that when it's installed, it'll hold your leg at a perfect 90 degrees, like so. And that is ideal for when you flip over the lid, like this. That leg will now sit under your unit here and support the one section that isn't connected to that support, which is this end corner by here, for any weight off and on. And once you get to that stage, your furniture is now solid, in place, and not going to move, and easily makes a bed. The next part of woods that we're going to install are these two, which I refer to as wings. So these fill the gaps either side of your bench, which make it easier to get it in and out. And what we want to do with these is we install these just to fill the gap, and then we put a 25mm screw in one end and the end over here. So the 25mm screws are these ones, so they're the longer of the screws, and how I tell them apart is you have a small, a medium and a large. So the large ones with the square heads only go into them pocket holes that we've already drilled inside the furniture for you. So if there's no slot that you put in them in, you're not going to be using these ones. This is to adjoin 2 bits of ply, so it will go through the thickness of 2 bits of ply, but not come out the other side. And the shorter one will only go through 1 piece of ply and not come out on the other side. So we're going to use the 25mm ones, so we're going through 2 pieces of ply, where we're going through the lid, and we want to go into the furniture below, just like so. And we do a top and a bottom, pre-drill them holes. And that's your 2 wings. And then we'll pop this lid just out of the way. And the final bit we want to work on is the kitchen, which we have already put in the van. So we always recommend to put this in the van right up to the driver's seat, out of your way, because it's a little more difficult when your seating is all in to then bring the kitchen in, especially if you had the oak worktop upgrade or gone for a longer kitchen than standard. So always have the kitchen in as one of your first units in the vehicle. And then we're butting him up then basically to our little bench, and making sure that he is then sitting to the back of your wall, and obviously scribing if necessary, depending on how your ply has been laid. And again, same setup on this. You will find then that we have got the pocket holes going to the floor. So the pocket holes on that side for that one, and all the way around the unit. And then the last thing we want to do, excuse that, the first thing we're going to do for securing all of them pocket holes is securing the kitchen to the bench, just like this. So we'll use another 25mm screw, because we're going through 2 pieces of wood, one into the other, to bind that kitchen to the driver side leg of the U shape. So these 2 units will then be tied together, and then we pocket hole the kitchen all the way down, which gives us a flush join down the side of the seat, just for that. And once you've done that, you can sit back and admire your new campervan interior. As I say, a very, very brief one. Not the best, I do apologise, but hopefully it'll help you on your self-builds until we get a little bit of time to do a proper video for you. So thank you very much for your purchase and your support. And if you do have any questions, as you probably already have, just drop us a message. Thank you.